This morning feels like a heating emergency, to be honest. It's absolutely freezing. It's obviously below zero on my thermometer. That's on centigrade. Yeah, for you Americans, it's not quite as cold as you might have thought. But it's absolutely terrible. No one in their right mind would want to come in the workshop when it's like this. What I've done in the past is I've used those electric fan heaters. But if you've seen what's happening with electric prices at the moment, they've gone through the ceiling. It always felt like it was an expensive option, but now it just seems sort of criminal, to be honest. When you switch it on, you actually see the smart meter go up, you know, £1.70 I think I've seen on it, which is awful. So I was thinking about what I can do to heat in the workshop, and one of the things that came to mind was using a diesel heater like we've used in the van. Now, you can run these on other things such as cooking oil and on old engine oil. It all depends on the local laws where you are. I think where I am in the UK, I think you need a licence to burn old engine oil, and I haven't got that licence. I'm not even going to look into it. It would appear maybe VEVOR have seen our video and they've been in touch and said we can have a sample of another one if we wanted to use it somewhere else. So, never one to look a gift horse in the mouth. We did. We said, let's have this. In the box it came out easily enough, and it's got exhaust with some brackets. It's got Jubilee clips and some other type of cable clips. What I assume is the air filter. Manual. And the remote. Oh, and what I didn't spot first off, it's got tubes and things for actually putting it together underneath. That's all the parts out, and I'm going to put it together so that I can try it outside. Then I'm going to work out where I'm putting it. Because I'm going to be moving it about, and because I'm building it up so it's just freestanding, I'm actually going to raise it up on some blocks. I've made them a little bit wider so that it's not quite as top heavy. According to the label, this is a 3 kilowatt heater, and it says it's a 12 volt 40 watt input. You do get them with 24 volt input so that you could use them in lorries and things like that. The 40 watts of interest because I do intend at first to run this from a battery, but if I was looking for a power supply I'd have to make sure that it would give a continuous 40 watt. Now I suspect, because it's got a glow plug, that when it first starts up it'll take more power than this. However, I think if I was looking for a 240 to 12 volt supply, I think I'd probably be looking at a 100 watt one rather than just 40. That's it put together for a test run. Now I haven't screwed all this in at this end because I do know I'm going to have to change this to get it to go outside. But for now, that's safe. It's connected at the bottom. It's not going anywhere. I'm just going to use it outside to test it. It needs electricity and some diesel, and then it should run. Now I've connected it to a battery, and I've also used the clamps from an actual battery tester so that I can tell that the battery powers enough. You press those two and then that one to prime it. Let's see what happens. Can hear a fan straight away. You get the fan, then you start hearing ticking, which is the actual pump putting fuel through. After trying to prime it and start it a couple of times, I decided I'd better look a little bit further at what was going on. When I took the case off, I could see that despite having put in about 3/4 of a litre of diesel, it wasn't quite reaching the actual pipe where it fed down to the pump. So when I was priming it, it was only getting fits and spurts going through. I decided to take the priming to the next level and hold the tank up so that the actual diesel had nowhere else to go but by gravity going down, never mind just the pump, and set it priming again. This worked really well. In the instructions I had seen that you can have some air bubbles in this line. It doesn't really matter as long as the diesel's still flowing through. It doesn't need to be completely full like a brake line. After a short while I could see that the diesel was going through without a problem and getting through to where it needed to be. So I thought I'll give it a quick test run now, see what happens. So put a little bit of padding under one side of the tank to make sure that the tube was fully filled with diesel. Press the on button. Took about 40 seconds for the fuel to start pumping, and I could hear virtually straight away that the actual burner had started. You can hear it coming through the exhaust. So I had a quick brew. I could feel the heat coming through. I've run it for about 10 minutes now, so I'll make sure that when I can take the cover off and check that nothing's leaking. It was a bit of a faff to get going, but that was mostly my own fault because I wanted to use only a little bit of fuel at first. But once I realised what it was, at least I now know how it primes. Now I'm going to have to find where I'm going to put it, get it going inside, and get some warmth. Now I've tested it, I know it works okay, there's no leaks and anything. I'm now going to position it underneath my workbench, exhaust going out. I'm just going to run it from the battery still. It's not a permanent installation this, and please don't copy this as your installation. I will think about it much deeper. But the thing I'm trying to remember at the moment is it's minus 0.7 Celsius. I'm bloody freezing here. I'm going for a quick and dirty installation, and then when outside temperature's warmed up a bit, I'll then think a little bit more about it, having seen how it runs and how much heat it gives me in the meantime. It's not the perfect installation by any stretch, but what I've done is I've put the exhaust out through the wall, and the fabric you can see is actually fire blanket fabric, so that really should be fireproof. I'm never going to have it running without me being here. At the moment the temperature is 0.5 degrees C, and the time is just coming up to 2:30. It's in the afternoon. It's been freezing all day, and like I said, I want to put some warmth into it so I can use it. I'll make it look pretty next time. I have no intention of leaving the connections like this. I'm going to get some proper battery clamps so that it can all be wired up. I've put 2 litres in here, and for this initial run, what I thought I'd do is I'll just mark where it's at. Right, so that I can see how much it's used, and I'm going to run it for an hour. And here we go. After an hour, the heat's gone up to 6.2 degrees on the thermometer. However, it feels a lot more pleasant in here and has felt a lot more pleasant for perhaps half an hour after the heater started up. So it's workable in here, and I'm sure it will get warmer. It's a bit noisy. I doubt you can hear me at the moment. I've realised that as it's going to snow tomorrow, having the exhaust poking upwards might not be a good idea, so when it's cool I'm going to adjust that. I took a trip out so that I could get some of the gas oil, the red diesel, the stuff that you pay less tax on in the UK. For certain purposes you can use it, and you can use it for these heaters. It saved me about 30p per litre. However, I did have to drive 10 miles there and back to go and get it. I'd probably pick it up along the way in the future, but I didn't have anywhere quite local to get it from. What I'm going to do now is top up the tank so I can see roughly, within a reasonable margin, how much fuel I needed to add to get it back to the level I started at yesterday when I did an hour-long run. What I'm going to do then, fill it up, and then I'm going to run it for a couple of hours and see, what temperature we can get it up to in here. And at the moment it's minus 1.5, so it's a bit grim. It looks like for that hour it took half a litre. So half a litre works out to about 75p for an hour at 300 kilowatts. And you've got to remember this is a really freezing day. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to top the tank up. I'm going to really give the area a good warming through, probably run it for 2 or 3 hours. I'll mark again to see where the fuel is, and I'll be able to give an indication over a few hours how much it's used. I think that's probably about as good as I can do really in this heat emergency I've got. It's gone up to minus 1.2, so it's really getting balmy now. Well, that's my heating emergency over and done with. I've now got a way of warming up the air in my workshop to a degree that I can come in here and work. I've got to bang it on about half an hour before I'm intending to come in, and it makes the air a lot warmer, obviously before everything else the heat starts to seep into. Once you've had it running for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, you can actually turn it down on the remote or on the buttons on it so that it uses less fuel. If you fancy one of these heaters, we've put links in the description to buy directly from VEVOR. I strongly recommend them for both use in the van and in your workshop. For the faff of putting it in, which didn't actually take me that long, it's well worth it. It's still noisy, so that's an issue I need to think about, and I will put it somewhere else, but I'm really pleased to have it. I can get on now with the projects I really want to get on with. The red diesel is substantially cheaper than normal diesel, but you can't use it anywhere other than in the heater. So if you've got a can that you use in your car or in the garage, I really wouldn't mix the two together. Overall, I think it's a success. I'm really pleased with this. When the weather does buck up, I may think about moving the heater and putting the tubes on so that it pumps it in from somewhere else so that it's quieter. But until then, I'm just going to stay warm with it. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this, why not subscribe? Have a look at our other projects. We've got some great things coming up in the new year, so subscribing and waiting for them will be a really good thing. But no matter what, thank you very much for watching.